Hey everyone. In this video, we'll be continuing our adventures of including E minor in our toolbox of chords. So, since this brings us up to 6 chords, it's worth going back and making sure we're comfortable with each one. Let's go in order, starting with our 1 chord, and walk up this staircase. Play 4 easy strums per chord with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and... Alright, easy enough. Now let's try this. Let's take off the C chord and the A minor chord. In other words, we'll get rid of the first step and the last step of our chord staircase. Again, 4 easy strums per chord. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and... Okay, good. And lastly, let's do this again, but this time we'll switch our strumming to half notes. Tempo won't slow down, but our strumming speed will. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. And not only is playing the chords in alphabetical order good practice for us, and a good way to make sure we're not missing any of our chords in the key of C, but D minor, E minor, F, G is the pre-chorus to our next song, Count on Me by Bruno Mars. Born 1985 in Honolulu, Hawaii, Peter Gene Hernandez, known by his stage name Bruno Mars, has already become one of the best-selling artists of all time, with over 130 million records sold. He began his music career in 2003 by moving to Los Angeles, and in 2009 co-founded a production and songwriting team called the Smeezingtons, with Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine. The trio went on to produce songs for a number of other artists and won 3 Grammy Awards in 2011, 2014, and 2017. Mars himself started his rise to fame with his 2010 debut album, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, which included the singles Just the Way You Are, Grenade, The Lazy Song, Talking to the Moon, Marry You, and the song we're looking at, Count on Me. The album itself went on to sell 15.5 million copies worldwide and was nominated for 5 Grammy Awards, which isn't too shabby for a first record. Even though Count on Me was released as the 6th single from Doo-Wops and Hooligans and considered only a minor hit at the time, it's gone on to become a fan favorite and is often included in his live sets. And as we've already got part of the song under our fingers, let's take a look at the rest of it. The nice thing about learning this song is that there aren't too many sections, and the same chord progression is used for both the verse and the chorus. So let's focus on that. We start with a bar of C, then a bar of E minor, then we go from A minor to G to F. To play the song together, we're going to play 2 half notes per measure, so A minor and G will get 1 half note strum each. Then the whole thing repeats. Let's do it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4. Good. Now, the verse and the chorus are almost exactly the same, except with the chorus, after you do the repeats, you play the chord progression 1 more time and add a G at the end. You might have noticed that G is a handy chord for leading us back into C. Well, it's not so much those 2 chords, but more that, you might have guessed it, the 5 chord leads back into 1. Something to keep in mind. But for now, let's return to the song. We go through the verse, pre-chorus, and chorus again, and then we come upon a bridge. Luckily, this bridge isn't too hard to cross. Sorry about that, but really it is pretty easy. Take a look at the first half. We've already practiced going from D minor to E minor, and going from A minor to G isn't much of a problem. The second half is the same as the pre-chorus. So let's try reading this. Again, staying with that half note pulse, and here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's see if we can put this whole thing together. Before we begin, let me also throw this out there. We're strumming the slow beat to make it a little easier to play a song that has more chords than we've used before, and one of those chords is still pretty new. However, if you notice the song's quick tempo, you might be tempted into playing faster as well. Well, if you want to challenge yourself, try playing this with a quarter note pulse, like this. But no pressure. For my part, I'll stay with half notes. Ready, everyone?
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Oh, find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah.
everyone. Did you keep up? Now, I really recommend trying it slowly at first, but by all means, go back and try it again with quarter notes if you feel ready. However, for those of you who don't feel ready for quarter note strums but would still like to push the tempo up a little bit, I've got good news for you. We're going to keep that half note beat, but pick up the pace. Now, before you panic, let me assure you, we'll pick up that pace with something familiar. Do you recognize this chord progression? Do the Roman numerals help? Well, it's got a slight variation, but if you said blues, you are absolutely right. Let's do this together, half note strums at a slightly faster tempo. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sounds good. However, I've got to tell you, this is not a blues song. The blues are in there, but only as a section. There's some more things going on here that we've got to learn. So, let me take you back in time. Not as far back as we went with Papa Bell, but a few decades back into the past. The year is 1960, rock and roll continues its climb in popularity, but Elvis has been off the scene for a while because he went to serve in the army and is just now getting back. Other aspiring musicians around the world, mostly young ones, are getting influenced and inspired by both American rock and blues music, and they're trying to add their own contributions. One band in particular, from the English city of Liverpool, was starting to develop a reputation for themselves from their live performances and well-crafted songs. Led by songwriters John Lennon and Paul McCartney, the band started its life as the Quarrymen, but they needed a name to reflect the skiffle music they were playing, which was a mix of folk, blues, and rock, and heavy on beats. Plus, they needed a new drummer. So, with a new lineup of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, the Beatles were born. The Beatles are widely regarded as the most successful band of all time, in terms of influence and record sales. They were only around for 10 years, but the scope of their music was huge, from simple pop songs to ambitious art rock albums, incorporating elements of classical music, instruments from around the world, blues, rock, folk, and endlessly experimenting in the recording studio, yet still being consistently interesting, accessible, and just insanely catchy. The real thing, for me, that set the Beatles apart was that they seemed to write anything they wanted and did it really well. And I don't think I'm alone in that opinion. According to Billboard magazine, the Beatles had 20 #1 hits, easily the most ever. In 1964, the popularity of British rock bands in America exploded, and this was referred to as the British Invasion. The Beatles led the charge, and the ensuing craziness and extreme fan reaction to nearly everything they did was referred to as Beatlemania. And we're taking a look at a song from this year called Can't Buy Me Love. Most songs by the Beatles were written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Early on in their career, they decided to split the credit on all their songs evenly, even if the contribution from one of them was minimal. This song was primarily written by Paul McCartney, and includes the blues progression for the verse. But the rest of the song does things a little different and uses more of our chords. So let's take a look at that. This song has two main sections, verse, which is blues, and chorus. Then there are two other sections that happen only once, the introduction, or intro, and the end section, or outro. Starting with the chorus, we first have E minor, then A minor, then we resolve to C for 2 measures. Then we go back to E minor and A minor again, but this time end with a bar of D minor and then a bar of G. It's a lot, so let's try it together. Half note pulse, just like the blues section. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Now for the intro and the outro. They're nearly the same thing, though the outro has a few extra measures of C, so we can resolve and end the song properly. Let's take a look at these parts. In the intro, we've got E minor to A minor again, but now it repeats, so that's helpful. Then we go to D minor and then to G. Same thing for the outro, but we resolve from G to C. The thing to remember about intros and outros is that since they only happen once, no one's going to judge you if you missed them. So try to hit them if you can, but in this video, focus on playing the verse and the chorus first. So we've got all of our sections and parts laid out. The last thing we need to think about is what order do these come in? Well, here we go. We've got the intro, obviously, 2 verses, chorus, verse, 2 quick beats where you catch your breath, then a guitar solo where we use the verse progression, chorus, 1 more verse, and then the outro. And that's it. It seems like a lot, but remember that there aren't that many different parts, and with some practice, it gets easier. All right, everyone, ready to try it? Do your best to keep up, and always remember that you can try as many times as you want. All right, let's do it.
Can't buy me love, love, can't buy me love. I'll buy you diamond ring, my friend, if that makes you feel alright. I'll get you anything, my friend, if it makes you feel alright. 'Cause I don't care too much for money, but money can't buy me love. I'll give you all I've got to give if you say you love me too. I may not have a lot to give, but what I got I'll give to you. I don't care too much for money, but money can't buy me love, can't buy me love. Everybody tells me so, can't buy me love. No, 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 say you don't need no diamond rings, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of things the money just can't buy. I don't care too much for money, money can't buy me love. Buy me love. Everybody tells me so, can't buy me love. No, 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 say you don't need no diamond rings, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of things that money just can't buy. I don't care too much for money, money can't buy me love. Buy me love, love, buy me love.
Okay, everyone, did you keep up? Now, both of the songs we've looked at are tricky because they use all of the chords we've learned so far, plus they have quick tempos. Well, we're playing Count on Me somewhat slowly, but it can have a quick tempo if you want. So practice both of these songs as many times as you need to, or want to, because they are good songs. And when you're ready, we've got one more thing to look at. We're going back to our C major scale, which we've had a bit of experience with, and reviewing it through the lens of tablature, which we've had experience with as well. And it's time to fill in the last piece of the puzzle. Where do we find these notes on the staff? When we first started learning about tablature, I mentioned that one of its drawbacks was that there wasn't a solid way to notate rhythm. I mean, you can draw rhythms over the numbers here and there, but that also has its limitations. But when we attach tabs to standard notation, suddenly things change. The tabs become less of an individual system and more of a translation of what's on the staff. Now, it's for this reason that people try to say that using tablature is somehow cheating. And that's fine. I guess watching a foreign movie with subtitles is cheating too. I, for one, have no problem using something useful, and neither should you. So let's get on with it. You may or may not be familiar with the staff, so here's a quick rundown. Notes go on the lines and spaces, and information like the treble clef dictates what notes go on those lines and spaces. Now for something helpful, it all goes in alphabetical order. So once we know where C is, finding the other notes becomes pretty easy. And C is fairly easy to find. It hangs off the very bottom of the staff, held in place by a magical line. Okay, it's not actually magic. The proper term is called a ledger line, and it's how we write notes that either go lower or higher than our original 5 lines allow us to go. There are far more notes on any instrument than can fit on the staff, so this is our way around it. You can add more ledger lines to write even lower notes, but luckily with the ukulele, we don't have to. C is our lowest note. So let's write out this scale with both standard notation and tablature. C is our lowest note, hanging off the staff like so. Our next note, D, is not quite on the staff either, but directly underneath it, like this. From here it gets easy. For E, we move up to the first line, then for F, we go up to the first space, then the second line for G. Don't forget that the musical alphabet resets after G, so what comes next? That's right, it would be A, and it would be on the second space, followed by B on the middle line. For some reason, I always find this one easy to remember, and then high C on the third space. And here we have our C major scale in both standard notation and tablature. We could go further and fill in the rest of the notes. D would be on the next line up, then E again, and then F again. And you may also notice that if we just look at the spaces, it spells the word face. And if we just look at the lines, we can make a sentence out of each letter, such as every good boy does fine, or something similar. You may have seen this before. This is what's called a mnemonic device, and it's a pretty common one to remember the lines and spaces when a treble clef is used. Use it if you find it helpful, but remember that learning this, as with so many other things, mostly just takes practice and repetition. Don't be discouraged if you don't have this memorized in the next 5 minutes. Just make sure it's all memorized by tomorrow. Back to our C major scale, newly notated with tablature. You'll now see that above each number, we not only have the note on the staff, but that they're all whole notes. And this is how we can effectively attach rhythms to tabs. You can see the note on the staff, you can see that each note is worth 4 beats, and you can see where you play it on the ukulele. And let's do just that. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But now we're going to add one final thing to this. We're going to take the practice in C chord progression and combine it with the C major scale, and it will look like this. Above each measure, I'm going to place the chord symbol, and now we have quite a bit of information. We have the note to play, the duration of each note, and the chord we're going to pair it with. And all of this together makes up our full Practice in C exercise. Let's give this a try, everyone. First, we're going to play the C major scale along with the piano chords. Follow the notes on the staff as you do this. Then, we're going to switch to the chords as the piano plays the scale. This gives us a chance to play both parts and hear what they sound like together. Watch the music and watch my hands. Okay, ready everyone? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, and... you Good work, everyone. There was a lot covered in this video. More practice with E minor, playing songs that used all 6 key of C chords, reading staff notation, and adding chords to the C major scale. Now, something to think about. Was there a reason we used those particular chords? Was there a reason that each note, even if it wasn't the root note, fit with the chord? We'll explore that more another day. For now, it's time to learn a new chord. This one will be unique, as it has an unusual name and is not technically in the key of C. So we're starting to stretch out a little bit. But first, let me show you what it is and the song we're going to attach it to. If you thought Pachelbel's Canon was a well-known piece of classical music, just wait till you hear this next one. Until then, later everyone.